has to.
Yeah.
To him, it should be a high standard.
What's that?
I don't know. She was in full security out of Brown Rose. They could have sat up there and run.
Yeah.
Poor lady up there,
Yeah.
in the door all by herself.
No, she's got it under guard though. So I guess just start the ball rolling. First, I want to say thank you. Thank you for those of you that are volunteering to serve in this committee, Glenn, you too. So appreciate your efforts and looking forward to a good conversation and what comes out to what we hope to be a very honorable, very dignified monument that can come into play. The funding piece, that's another conversation in itself, and we'll get into some of these parameters as we move forward here. But in short, with this being a county commission driven, those of you who understand the process of government, we have to abide by the process of government. So there's going to be periods where we're going to have to do a hold tight until the county commission takes action, and then we come back and do. But that doesn't mean we can't have plans in place for the next steps too. But with that, if we want to just go around the table, introduce yourself, a little bit about who you are, but also give a couple sentences of why you wanted to serve on this committee. Stacy.
And I'm Stacy Bendish. I'm a Navy veteran, currently Boilermaker. I got an uncle and a cousin on the wall. Sort of figured if I don't voice my opinion, I can't complain about what happens at the end. So.
Scott Stevens, U.S. Army veteran. One of the things I was in OIF 1. The things that we seem to forget about is they prepare you for what you got to do there. They don't do a whole lot for you when you come home. And I think it's important we don't forget.
Larry McClellan, Army, retired. For me, if we don't have something, people won't remember. And what we've got now is, it works, but it is dated and does need to be repaired. And I'm willing to help and do whatever I can to make that happen.
Nikki Freilich, Nicole, I go by Nikki, U.S. Army veteran, Kosovo deployment. I know I've complained a couple of times to Ray about that memorial out there, and I just cringe every time I walk by it. And I figure I can complain about it, but now the opportunity to do something about it. So I think it's just time that we update it. And there's so many cities around the area. Look at Dickinson. If you've ever been to Dickinson, their memorial is amazing. And it's just time that we update ours and it's our memorials are below par.
Gary Gorofsky. I've been in Mandan, Morton County since '93, U.S. Navy veteran. During the Cold War, I was on a nuclear sub on the East Coast, and I did some time in reserve. I tried one with the National Guard here. I left UNDs. 7 years total service. I have a wife and 3 kids, his daughter and son-in-law. For me, I spent 22 years at the prison as a correctional officer, and the Vietnam era veterans that I spoke with. One in particular from Moffat, his name's Tom Nelson. I did 2 tours through there, and I never saw combat. We were out in a grid somewhere in the North Atlantic, waiting for World War III with the Soviets, basically. Nuclear powered, it could carry the nuclear weapons. But just talking with probably 3-4 of as much as they would share, there's a lot of the men that I knew, correctional officers, they all want. One in particular is Tom Moffat about doing 2 tours through Vietnam. A young guy, wasn't married, but just wanting to honor those that gave the ultimate sacrifice. I don't have anyone on the wall or the memorial mound. Send the veteran and serve community and country.
Todd Porter, lifelong Mandan resident, born and raised here. I work full-time for the ambulance service as a paramedic. Been a first responder in Mandan and Morton County since 1977. My uncle Raymond was killed in action at Heartbreak Ridge in Korea in October of 1951 and received the Distinguished Service Cross for his actions in saving his platoon. And I guess I'm here hopefully protecting his legacy and his service and why he gave his life for this country.
Andy Zachmeyer, County Commissioner, retired law enforcement. And when I was first elected, I was looking at the names on the wall, and it bothered me that the county has no record of the men other than what is on the wall. There was no record of what unit they were in, what battle they may have died in, you know, what awards they could have been awarded. And I started looking up all the names and researching every single name. And I saw that the wall was starting to hurt. You know, some of it is the county's fault. It's been hit by snow removal equipment. Gaps opened up, water gets in. Freezing, expanding, and it isn't doing justice to the people that are on it. And so I wanted to work with Commissioner Morrell that either we need to do a serious reconstruction or a whole new design, because the names that are on there should be properly honored.
Thank you. Glenn?
Name's Glenn Reed. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Name is Glenn Reed. I'm a 14-year Marine Corps veteran, retired from the Army National Guard here in North Dakota back in 2006. I've been a Mandan resident in Morton County since then. I travel for work. Currently, I'm talking to you from Farmington, New Mexico. So I travel all over the country for work. I see a lot of veterans memorials in the towns that I work in and in the towns that I drive through, going back and forth. Compared to the majority of what I've seen, for lack of better terms, this memorial is pathetic. It's not inviting. It's not, unless you actually walk into the courthouse, you really don't even see it. And then you've got to stand in front of the doors if you want to take time to look at it. It's just not conducive for what a memorial of its nature is supposed to be. So hopefully ideas that I have, that you have, that we as a collective group have, can come up with something a lot better than what we've got and make it something that deserving of the people's names that are on there for years to come.
And I'm quite privileged to call each and every one of you guys at this table and on the screen. You're all personal friends of mine. So for that, I'm very gracious to have this chance to work with each of you on collaboration for this. Again, Morton County Commissioner, yeah, Marine Corps veteran. I'll keep it toned down.
First time for everything.
I
But
second that.
but for myself personally, and some of you know, some of you don't know, but I do have a brother that was killed. He was military police, Marine Corps military police, died on duty. He is enshrined on the fallen law enforcement officers memorial in Washington, D.C., and classmate of Commissioner Zach Myers as well, for that matter. But having that connection and understanding that loss, and also recent review of the names rostered on this, there are two family members on my mother's side, a Bender and a Bullinger, and one family member on my father's side, a Morrell, that are enshrined on this wall. So again, for the same approach that each of you have, is to be able to have a place that is recognizable, that is honorable, that is of distinction, that is of great commemoration, and being able to remember these people for eternity, for future generations. So we're all here for that same approach, and so I appreciate that. I do want to reiterate the purpose of this committee, as we set up at the county commission meeting here recently, and I'm just going to restate everything, is again coming in with phases. So first off, of course, working with the architect to flush out a suggested final design with detail and architect's cost. So we come up with the final design, we come up with the details, and that's the biggest piece of this. You know, we're going to start at that 50,000 elevation and work our way down. But the architect will go out and identify what the anticipated cost based on architects, their cost books and all that fun stuff. The final design will be presented to the county commission for final consideration. So we come up with the final design, the county commission will have the authority to approve it, okay? And I can also trust that part of that process will include public input. Again, let them give it feedback as well. So understanding how that process will work. Developing a fundraising strategy for the final design based on architect's cost. And again, the fundraising strategy based on the architect's cost, that's before we go to actual bid. We can't go to actual bid until the commission authorizes us to do so. Okay. Pending final authorization by the county commission, execute fundraising needs for the successful construction or erection of an approved monument. So that follows all those processes. Pending final authorization by the county commission, work with the authorized architects to solicit bids for the final design and bring recommendations to the county commission for consideration prior to authorizing the bid. So again, that just restates what I initially just said. So the county commission gives the okay to move forward with it. Working with the architect, we get all the bids put into place. We get hard dollars, figure out a timeline, all that fun stuff. That comes back to the county commission because it's the counties as the elect body for the people. They authorize the distribution of the funds. Okay. And upon the go-ahead of the county commission, working with the architect for the successful construction of the approved final design. So once the commission says, okay, make it happen, we work with the architect. And then, of course, coordinating and executing a public dedication ceremony for the finish. So whatever timeline that might be, you know, again, keeping that in mind, working from here, high elevation as we're working into the details as we progress. Okay, so questions on that? Clear as mud? Awesome. See, I can talk smart sometimes for a Marine. I don't even have colors. So I do want to throw out some rules though, as far as a committee, and this is just pretty static stuff. Todd, I'm sure you're used to this as a legislator, but again, the committee was set up by the county commission. Okay, so due to the process of government, it's just what I just said. There'll be periods of decision making by this committee that'll have to be approved or authorized by a county commission before further steps can be done. So again, making sure that we're all aware of that. So when we get frustrated, we understand why. The speed of government. This committee serves the Morton County Commission, but obviously we also represent the citizens of Morton County. Okay, so as that, we serve as the facilitators of the memory of those enshrined and those to be enshrined on this monument. We'll be respectful respectful stewards of the honor and the dignity this monument presents, whereby preserving and presenting the recognition of those service members who have fallen in times of war, for the families of those enshrined, as with all those seeking to honor and respect our fallen, not just today, but for future generations. This monument is a monument of all those Morton County service members who have fallen at a time of war. This is not an individual monument to us nor for us. So keeping that in mind as we're having our deliberations as a conversation, we got to, who are we representing? Those enshrined. Every member of this committee has a voice, of course. Please be respectful of each other's opinion and comments, and please, we try to be my job too, making sure we share the discussion, but try not to dominate the discussion. Okay. This is not an oligarchy. This is not a monarchy. We all have various opinions and insights, and we'll migrate. We know we're going to migrate to a unified opinion, a unified presentation for that finished monument. We won't always 100% agree, but we're going to agree on the finished product. Okay. And with that, of course, we function with majority rule. Based on the survey results, our impressions, they will begin with the ellipse. We'll hit the survey response here pretty quick, but memory serves me right, it's about 75% was on the ellipse design concept. So that's our baseline. Okay. And then with that, and this was also mentioned at the last county commission meeting when this committee was established, is that the names of the fallen will be enshrined. So obviously the following, each of us sought service in this committee. It's going to involve a little bit of personal time, a little bit of investment of our time and energy, as long as we're all acceptance of that. If you got any concerns or any inabilities to tackle something, let me know. So with that being said, welcome aboard. Or welcome, please. Go to work. Yep. So
Just, I guess, one thing.
Yeah.
I'll be a little predisposed starting tomorrow at noon.
yeah.
Until May 1st. I will try to keep up to date and up to speed and help where I can, but I will be a little bit tied up.
And that's very understood. Very much understood. I'm going to jump into the next topic here, is basically the structural assessment of the existing monument. Initially, I was going to have the architects here as well, but last minute conversation with them, they're going to hold off, let us get a chance to just divulge all our inventory, and then we get into the next phase of meetings. And that's actually, we got to, as county commissioners, we got to meet with them and get contractual obligation put into place with them too yet. So we haven't done that. But anyway, we're going to just understand that the monument is in disrepair. As Commissioner Zach Meyer mentioned, you got joints that are expanded. You got the EFIS, which is energy insulated form, something, the stucco. The stucco was compromised in several areas. You can see it because it's got discolorations, but what's behind there is the actual stone. You can see by some of the imagery over there. There's one image that has the original brickwork. So that is behind it. However, behind that is the framework. So we don't know what's damaged behind that. We do know that the granite panels, the grouting is cracked and missing. There's a leading edge corner is actually pushed off foundation a little bit, and placards are put in different fashions. There's names that we know should be on there through historical research. We've uncovered a few that should be on there that aren't, and the list goes on, which again, combined effort is why we're here today. So the inventory assessment of the existing monument, I'm going to pull up. Let's see. Glenn, you can see this?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is just satellite imagery, looking at the footprint, and I got all this for you guys here too. I got 2 copies. Compliments my work. So just a simple overview, there's a few pages in there, I just want to pass them around. So this is the buildable footprint that we're playing with. What it doesn't show is on the bottom right, and you see it from the street side, which we'll get into a couple more images here, but you see it from the street side, there's a 10 Commandments monument that's in there, which again is a historical piece in itself. But alongside that is another rock bed area, or I'm sorry, crushed rock area that leads back along the south side of the property where the human service building is. So that whole area and this little L-shaped area, but also on the west side of the human service building is a raised planting bed. So I look at this entire area as part of the buildable footprint. Because again, we want to have aesthetics all the way through. Okay. Oops. So a little bit of a street side view, and you can see where that L shape comes into play. That's that second image. And then right down through here, if you can see the cursor right above mid right screen there, Glenn. There, that's where that raised plant bed. What do you say, Andy? It's about 4 feet high.
Oh, at least that.
Yeah, you can see it on those street view pictures pretty good.
Yep. So that's a street view. This is from Google Earth, straight on shot looking at the grounds. You can see the honey locust tree here. You can see a little bit of planting edge along the south building, which is the human service building. And again, there's that crushed rock area. And you see the raised planting bed there. So quick assessment of where we're at for the facility grounds itself. And again, for the 10 Commandments monument, Andy, you want to give insight on that one?
It was donated to Morton County by the Mandan Eagles. I don't remember exactly what year, but the county never paid for it. It was donated. And everybody knows the US Supreme Court says you're not supposed to have the 10 Commandments on the courthouse property. But the county commission, ever since I've been here, is let somebody make a complaint.
That actually was overturned. So it is allowable.
Anyway, it's there and we want to keep it there.
And another piece of historical fact for the 10 Commandments monument itself is in the early 1900s. The was it Eagles?
In the early 1900s?
No, this was
by Mandan Eagles.
It was actually a nationwide campaign for the Eagles Brotherhood to plant 10 Commandments monuments across the entire nation. So there is history with this piece. But again, you'll see the crushed rock area right in front of that monument. You also have right next to that is a drop box for people like absentee ballots.
Pay parking tickets, traffic tickets.
Exactly. So that is here too. So that's all part of this design considerations is what is there to include the signage, like no backpacks in the courthouse, or there's another sign that's towards the front of the street itself. And again, these trees, everything else that's going to be part of the dialogue and design consideration. So getting into the inventory assets. So again, you're looking at the granite slabs. So this is roughly a 1 foot, and you can tell where it's at. It's right along the city sidewalk. Measurements for these. So this one here is roughly 27 deep, 12 wide. They're all 12 wide, 4 inches thick. Then we have 6 pieces that are roughly 3 foot by 12 by 4. We have 2 pieces right here in the edge and here in the edge. This one's chipped up on both leading edge corners. But these 2 pieces are both measured at 4 foot by 12 by 4. And then on top of the monument itself, you can see how it's chipped up here in the corners. But on top of the monument itself, 10 Commandments itself, right here. So there's 12 pieces that are 6 feet by 12 inches by 4. So on top of each of these panels and also on the bottom of each of these panels. And then you got the sides, you got two pieces, they're roughly 3'6" by 12 by 4. Okay. So what's basically why I bring this up is if we have the opportunity to repurpose some of this stuff. And again, you look in this back wall, there's that same stone. As well as this center divider. And if memory serves me right, I think there's one behind the flagpole too.
I believe so.
That same granite.
I actually noticed inside of the building, there's columns that are that kind of.
Mhm. So again, knowing what we have, so if there's an opportunity to repurpose it, let's have that part of the conversation. Okay. Again, closer look at the Ten Commandments monument. This is actually really nicely sunshade protection. And this is that rock or crushed, actually just rough aggregate. And then again, here's a slab for bench seating.
Sure, that's not asphalt.
Um,
It sure looks like asphalt.
asphalt
Wrapped up.
or crushed, yeah. Might be just concrete with that aggregate
That
finish
looks
in
like
there.
asphalt.
And then this is that other rock area, then the planting bed. And then the trees. So the tree canopy is really, really nicely matured. Okay, so again, consideration for that. And then we're looking at the monument itself. Obviously, we have the plaques. These are cast aluminum, if I remember correctly. So the placards themselves and on the end cap here. I'll get into those here. So this is obviously the end cap. The original monument was erected in 1955, funded 100% by the American Legion at the time. So that's why the American Legion logo, and of course, the age is a factor because shoot, it's almost 70 years old. I mean, look at us, we're 50.
I'm not 70.
Um,
Feel about the way that wall looks.
but the plaques themselves, and understanding that we know that there's errors on here, but again, it's metal. I'll just throw a consideration. Maybe we can melt these down and use them as metal for another placement. Maybe it's the if we go forward with the naming of the area is what was suggested at one point. Maybe that could be a repurpose. But what's also important is the names that are rostered and the locations, which again ties in. We get into the historical piece here.
And then the thing about the plaques, World War I, there's the empty station, but there's about 16 names that need to be added to World War I. Then if you go to World War II, because there's errors, and it isn't just the county that made the errors, state made the errors, federal government made the errors. Go up one there, Ray. Adolf Wetch is listed under New Salem and Judson. That's just one of the errors. But the main errors, there's some misspellings. And I found those and corrected them wherever I found them. But the main portion is names that aren't on there that should be. And there's about another 10 from World War II that need to be added. Korea and Vietnam, this is where we eventually, because there was the room, we were now worried about at one time space on the wall. So the Korean conflict and Vietnam War were added onto one plaque and recast. But the main one is, stay on that one there quick. So now there's an error, and I've got faulted that one too. James C. Freed, no, what is it? It's, yeah, it is James Freed. James Freed is listed under Mandan because that's where the county took him, but he really should be under New Salem. Now, when I did Hill, they just took a piece of aluminum and screwed it to it. It was horrible. And so I said, this needs to get fixed, and then but it's under Mandan, and I had no information that it was different. So when we recasted it, we left him under Mandan, and well, he shouldn't have been, he should have been under New Salem. And then this plaque was added, and the Medal of Honor portion was insisted upon by our former Veterans Director,
Ron Otto.
Ron Otto. Ron Otto wanted the Medal of Honor recipients remembered. We didn't really have any place to put them except on this wall. But neither one of them died in combat. They both survived to receive their medal. And they're from the Spanish-American War. And then War on Terror, unfortunately, we have had one. But then that's why these plaques are different than with screw-in pieces of aluminum. Because technically the War on Terror is still going on. And if you have to add another name. And then they wanted 2 more for Medal of Honor. But that was the history. How did the Medal of Honor winners get on there? Ron Otto was pretty
Adamant.
is yes. So Richard Longfellow is actually from Mandan. And he received it during the Philippine insurrection portion of the end of Spanish-American War. And he was one of them that charged the burning bridge. And where all the North Dakota, how many of them got medals of honor from that action. And the regular Army guys couldn't believe that all of a sudden these guys charged and ran across the burning bridge. Frank Anders, the other Medal of Honor recipient, was born at Old Fort Lincoln, Morton County, Dakota Territory. But technically, the military says he was from Fargo, but he was born here in Morton County at the Old Fort Lincoln military post.
Little side note too for Richard Longfellow, for those of you that aren't aware, is on the Liberty Memorial Bridge, the Mandan side. Underneath is the Richard Longfellow Memorial Park.
So no matter what decision we choose, is there gonna be room if we find some names later on to add those?
That's gonna be part of the discussion, because I'll just throw an idea out here, okay? Let's say, and just picture the curved wall of the ellipse. We're jumping forward here a little bit, but picture the curved wall of the ellipse concept. And I'm gonna throw an idea out. As soon as I say, you guys probably have seen it also, a glass panel. You etch the names in a glass panel mounted to the whatever side of the face, and it'll be rostered. It'll be identified by conflict, by city, by whatever. And yes, one glass panel to replace that for etching purposes, probably minuscule of a cost versus having to refabricate all of them in a casting. So but that's the details that we're going to get into. We literally will get down to that finite level.
And that's one of the problems with the zigzag wall and the aluminum plaques. There's a lot of dead area around the plaques. So then the names were shrunk. And about the only other thing about the names, they're under the city that they're from. And people seem to enjoy that they can look under Hebron and see which ones were from the Hebron area. But there was a lot of wasted real estate on the current one that we have.
So again, looking at our inventory assessment, as you know, we went into the details as far as the components that could be repurposed, the stone, the plates, the trees, of course, but moving back into the overall courtyard area. Fully assessing what we got for planting beds, because again, we have a chance to completely paint a whole new picture, a whole new portrait. So what is it that we want to make this thing become? Cost is a factor, we understand that. But right now, dream for the gold, achieve the bronze. Bad metaphor, but you get the picture. Dream big and see where the funding takes you. Okay. But looking at, again, the facility grounds itself, you can see the signage that takes place here. There's another sign that's back by the entry. We got the flagpole. Memory serves me, I believe that flagpole is bent.
Yeah, it's bent. You can even see it there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's bent.
The EFS, this was all done, and again, the architect Fitter commented that was done about mid-90s when all the EFS was done, because it used to be, well, it was mid-modern, mid-century modern, so it was a plethora of windows. So trying to make it more energy efficient. But also looking at, like I say, existing lighting that's in place. We know that there's electrical that's there. Okay. It might have to get repurposed again, or I'm sorry, rerouted depending on sizing. But looking at all the planting areas that we have to play with. Okay. So back to the dimensions though. Rough calculation, I didn't wheel it out, but rough calculation is north to south, or as you're looking at this image, left to right, it's approximately 75 feet across. Just in this courtyard. And then east to west, going from sidewalk to the building, is approximately 70 feet. So we're playing with roughly 5,200 square feet. Good amount of space. And again, keep in mind for the trees, because the trees are a big factor. They're mature already. They give good shade already versus having to start off new again. So just keeping that in mind. Then this other area over here is approximately 44 feet across, north-south, and roughly 17 and a half feet deep. So that measures out to just shy of 800 square feet there too. Okay. So keeping that in mind when we start getting into the weeds, which we will be going. And by that time frame, my intention is to have our architects here so they can extrapolate the dialogue with us. Okay, so getting into the survey results though, y'all got a copy of this. There you are, Glenn.
Yeah.
So just going to reiterate, it's pretty self-explanatory, but as going down the line, we received 44 survey responses. 37 of them were Morton County residents. And you see those that identified where they were from. We didn't have any specific responses from Elmont, from Flasher, from Hebron, but we had rural Morton County, so who knows where they might have been. Family member rostered on the wall, 6 of them of the responses have family members rostered on the wall. 2 of them are sitting here with us. Are you currently serving as a veteran? 15 of the responses said yes. And of those 15, that's where the breakdown came into play. 9 Army, 2 Marine Corps, 2 Navy, 5 National Guard. And of those 15, 11 are members of veteran service organizations. Of those veteran service organizations, you see that breakdown. American Legion, AMVETS, DAV, Marine Corps League, the Navy League, oh, they're in there twice. VFW, Vietnam Veterans Association, or other. Elements of the existing monument, do you like or not like? I'm not gonna bore us with regurgitating that. You definitely read that on your own, but I do want to go into what elements of the ellipse do you like? Some of these are probably your own responses. And each statement was a separate statement within the results, within the surveys. So everything, that was all they wrote, everything. The space it creates, the rounded walls, the lighting, the abstract statue creates a feeling rather than being literal. It's inviting, incorporates the entire space. It draws attention. It's open, lighting shape, open, inviting, green space, open space. Shadows on the wall should be people, soldiers, nothing. More modern, more open, like idea of having gathering space area for city, county employees, more welcoming. I like the ability to walk around it, but the wood thing could be green space with flowers instead of more cement. It looks new and much more modern and is a great departure from the zigzag design. Visual appeal. I don't care for this one. Nothing. I like that it looks spacious. I like the larger walls and a variety of statues. All of it. Very nice. It stands out. It's different. All. Modern looking. Its openness. Its ability to be a public gathering space. I like the openness and being able to add to it. Appears spacious. It's open. It looks like it would work better for any type of event outside of the courthouse. None. I like how it complements the mid-century building. I also like the sculpture, less harsh. Very inviting, open, allows the interaction of people. It enables community gatherings and promotes an encouragement of people to take time and notice the monument. I think that's actually something that I've gotten up above. People didn't even know that that wall was there until we brought it out through the media. You pretty much have to walk through it, and it's hard to miss the significance of the mourned. More welcoming, more sweeping, and places you in the monument. Pretty profound statement there. What do you not like of the ellipse? And some of you might have had responses in here too. Nothing. A little too much grandiosity for the very austere nature of the rest of the courthouse. None. The sculpture should be an eagle or something that represents our fallen heroes, not what is depicted in current image. Just a little too grandiose. Too grandiose, focus not on memorial, focus on sculpture. Takes away from parking, which that's not an issue because that option was completely removed before it was even brought to the commission. Too many lights as far as lighting. Walls that hide the building, too much cement. I like grass. I can't think of anything specific. Snow removal problems. We're going to have that regardless. So North Dakota. Too busy looking. It needs more classic look. Too big. Takes up too much room. A more clear path from the street to the front door may be possible. It feels crowded. Needs more flags and flagpoles, either on all three sides or at least one road with the U.S. flag. It could be moved off to one side more to make room for walking in versus standing and looking at the monument. None. Not enough info to have an opinion. The unknown of the artwork, all of it, doesn't show a definitive area for rostering of names. Could incorporate flags for all branches of service in addition to the POW MIA flag. It'd be hard to move snow around it without damaging it. So some of this can easily be addressed. But again, just sharing where the thoughts are, because if you guys have ever been through a design process like this and you're working with an architect, they take that air and our feedback and they come up with concepts. That's just nature of their beast, their talents. I've been through that process a couple times, but I'm a builder also, but I've been through a couple of, well, North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame. I helped design that. If a statue were to be incorporated in the final design, would you prefer a lifelike statue or an abstract statue? So 20% said abstract, 73% said lifelike. I think that's just people that may know art, may not know art. But the one challenge that I can definitely see if we decide to go with a lifelike, how do we make that lifelike indicative of all the branches of service, of the genders, of the generations of time?
Well, see, and that's where I don't think there should be a statue.
Yeah.
But that's where we get into the weeds here pretty quick.
That, I mean, you put a statue, any type up, you're excluding somebody somewhere.
If it, especially if it's lifelike.
Regardless of whether it's abstract or not.
Sure.
It could be lifelike or abstract. And you're gonna have 3/4 of the county. Ooh, that's disgusting. That's not what it was meant for. It doesn't represent. For an abstract, you put a Vietnam statue up, lifelike, oh, that doesn't cover everything. So it's just better off not to put a statue. Maybe use the 10 Commandments as a focal piece. I mean, I'm not overly religious, but I know the 10 Commandments well, and I said them every night when I was overseas.
Sure.
I prayed every night and I don't pray. So that would be more appropriate reusing that as part of it than adding a statue that's there's always gonna be problems with it.
And in
Sure.
the National Guard, Memorial in front of the parade barracks, they have the boots and the rifle. And I think that would be.
Yeah, the
appropriate.
Soldier's Cross.
Right.
I think that would be appropriate for that.
So on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest, how important is incorporating names in Morton County service members killed in action into the final design? 86% that responded said 5. And the lowest score was a 4. So that again is where the commission came back and said, no, the names will be put on that wall. At least the existing names will definitely be incorporated, and we can work what we need to for the others. Scale of 1 to 5, 1 being lowest, 5 being the highest. How important is incorporating the existing landscape, hardscape into the design? You can see how that scoring comes into play pretty much across the board. Average score was 3.2. A scale of 1 to 5, 1 being lowest, 5 being the highest. How important is incorporating light accents into the final design? Average score was 4.3 out of 5. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. How would you rate the ellipse concept? That rated a 4.0 out of 5. Scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest. How would you rate the zigzag concept? That rated a 2.78. Should the final design incorporate more than one flagpole? Split pretty much 50-50 almost. And I purposely put that in there because, again, as we work into a final design, do we want to incorporate all the branches of service, flags for each of them?
That takes us one flag. I mean, seriously, what flag did we fight under?
Well,
Was
the
it
American
brand?
flag,
Yep.
the American flag is already factored into the design, though.
That's all it takes. You
Right.
only need the one flag.
Right. But again, that's where, as we get into the weeds, definitely. So if you had to choose the design concept today, 61% chose the ellipse, 34% zigzag. And then should the Morton County Commission dedicate funds for a new monument? 77% of the response said yes. And you see where the dollar breakdown come into play. And that I can see where I'm just going to be flat out as a county commissioner, as an elected person, steward of tax dollars. There's a fine line.
Mhm.
There's a fine line. And
I just want you to know that I put 100% down.
Yep.
I thought about doing it, but I knew it wouldn't happen,
If
so.
I can pay for
Another
Bladen
mandate
Road
for-
in Hebron.
Yep.
Another mandate
I
for the
can
legislature.
pay for a statue, man.
What's that, Stacy?
Another unfunded mandate from the legislature of county.
We could. So again, just a review of the survey results themselves. So with that, comments.
I don't want to be the guy to lob grenades, but I just wonder, as we're talking about this has been there since. Is it the right location? What are the plans that the county has as far as space in this building? There's only one place to add on to this building, and it's in that space.
Mhm.
I would hate to think that we spend $1 million and in 10 years, a new group of people are sitting around the table and all of a sudden their space confined and they say, we have to move this, tear it down, get rid of it. So I would like that to be part of the discussion here. And I guess my other component is that with the veteran cemetery, just south of Mandan, that, do we talk to them as part of this project and see if they would have a dedicated place or, another location or what that also looks like. it just concerns me that you have one place left on this footprint to add office spaces or to make changes to this footprint. And we're gonna spend $1 million on something that may not get the full useful life of what we're spending.
That was more like Artie than hand grenades.
155.
Yeah.
I just wanted, I just think, I'm fine. I mean, I am perfectly fine
No,
with
it's-
where it's at.
Yeah,
I
Definitely
just,
a valid
I
point.
just think that this is a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity that I think that as a steering committee that we should look at all avenues and make sure that the first one that we're discussing is this the right location for this? Or do we need to start out by looking at other options of even where to put it?
Sure.
I do think that, yeah, with you saying that, I mean, I could see that, additional space could be required in years to come. I don't know that the cemetery is the best option, though, in the fact that. I
And
think
they
it'd be
probably wouldn't let it
over-
happen anyway, because then all
It'll be just over.
the rest of the counties would want something.
They've got very strict guidelines on what they can do and what they can't do on
Yeah.
that cemetery. property.
The cemetery
think-
property, go ahead, Nikki.
Oh, I think maybe looking at one of the parks in Mandan, maybe the Eagles Park, it is Eagles Park is a pretty decent sized park, so. I mean, there's a lot in Mandan to look at.
I will go back with the last or that first public input meeting that we had here. Todd, Scott, Stacy weren't here. I think, yeah, the two of you here were at that session. So there was conversation about other locations, maybe Dykstra Park. That was just conversation because we had that dialogue. As far as the courthouse facility, that is an ongoing discussion that some of the commissioners have been having. Are we there yet? No, but we're looking at 10 years down the road, saying what our facility is going to be. In the same breath, the city of Mandan is having that same conversation. Okay, so that dialogue is happening. And we also shared that same meeting too about yesteryear. There was that plan about having this, get my bearings here, the street in front of us as an entire plaza. Some of you might remember that. That was however many years ago that was. As far as the Veterans Cemetery, that is a separate body. It's the foundation, as you know. They maintain the oversight for the Veterans Cemetery itself. I have been working with the foundation on another monument out there, and they're very reluctant on any more monuments, period. So not saying that that can't be convinced otherwise, but right now that is the sentiment. Okay, and the TAG chairs that committee. But the other part of that though too, and this was a very direct statement that's made is if we look at a different location, first off, the synergies that the current location has is it drives more foot traffic, specific with government buildings between the city hall and the county. It drives foot traffic, but it also is synergy, bigger picture for the city of Mandan as they're looking at hosting more and more activities that foster foot traffic. And that was a activity that Commissioner Zachmeyer and I sat in with the city of Mandan 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
2 years ago.
How they're working that piece is in this location. And let's just say it's something, let's just say okay, that's the one, just exactly like that. That's the one. What that could do to generate more foot traffic for the community. But also it comes down to, and I don't remember who it was that said that. Maybe it was you, Todd, or maybe it was Jim that said that. Jim Newbar might have said that, where city property versus county property. This is a monument for all of Morgan County. So that's another consideration as we're looking at, let's say Eagles Park, let's say Dykstra Park, or wherever it might be. It's in that circumstance, it's city property or it's a Mandan Parks property. It's not a county property. So does that change the sentiment of the monument by having another location? I mean, that's all conversation.
Mhm.
But Mandan being the county seat. I don't know that there are any other memorials that aren't in the city county seats.
Yeah, but I think the majority of those memorials are still on courthouse property. If you go to, most other small county seats, if there is a war memorial, it is usually right in front of the courthouse or right next to.
Burley
Well,
County.
No, they're
Stark
all,
County
they're
has-
kind of all over the place. You go to
I mean,
Dawson,
look at the one at Dickinson. That's
go to
not-
Dawson and have a tank in the city
Dickinson's a-
park. And their veterans wall in the city park. I think it's kind of a hodgepodge of what the communities did. The only thing that concerns me is there's only one place left for this
Right,
building to be added on. And,
put the time and the effort and the money into it, and then it's gotta be
10 years is
relocated.
10 years is just a blink
Mhm.
for $1 million plus spend on something this important. And then, not only in 10 years do the elected officials that are sitting there make the decision that they're going to repurpose that space to a building, then they have to rebuild the monument for 2 or 3 times the amount of money that it would cost.
Right.
And I just think that
And-
it's part of,
You want these passed around?
it's just part of our obligation, to make sure that it's going in the.
And who knows, 10 years from now, if the money is available, the people who are willing to put the effort into it, they'll think it end up being mothballed and thrown in the back of some shop somewhere.
Put it on a city park, though, there'd have to be some kind of agreement, right? I mean, the city had.
Yep.
For
Or the park
maintenance
board,
and
yep,
all that shit, right?
right.
And, the part of you look at like Eagles Park. That's sponsored by the Eagles. It's owned by Mandan Park and Rec. The buildings and the structures are all paid for by tax dollars. But the Eagles sponsored it. There was an American Legion Park is down by where we used to go ice skating. But, so I don't know if we talk to Cole Hageland and find out what would happen with Veterans Memorial Park. And if there's land up by the tennis center, or if there's another spot that they currently have ownership of, that they would be willing to entertain the idea of hosting something this important. But I just think that it should be part of the discussion because it's too important to do and then
Right.
find out that something else needs to happen.
I mean, it's like here at the courthouse, I like the idea because it's centralized.
That's always a benefit.
It's
Absolutely.
not up North Mandan or on the other side of the train tracks on South Mandan in the park or whatever. It's centralized where a lot of people walk every day, not just coming to the courthouse. But there's a lot of people that walk through these neighborhoods. And it's nice to have something where the people are walking through, they can see it, oh, what's that, and go over.
I fully agree with it. You could do the same thing with a brown sign on I-94 at the Mandan Avenue exit that tell people that are, instead of just driving through Mandan and going someplace
Instead of
else,
taking a left to the casino, take a right to it.
pull over for the Morton County Memorial.
Yeah.
I mean, it just needs to be part of our discussion.
Well, let me do a straw poll, Todd. Just show of hands. If you, and you're not committing, just a show of hands, if you feel that the downtown location is a suitable location, just show of hands.
I think it's suitable. I ain't saying it's
Yeah.
perfect, but it's
Right,
suitable.
right. Yeah, okay, and just showing that what do we got here? Do my math. I got to count 1, 2. So of those here, Glenn, where are you at for that?
What's that?
Where are you at? Do you think it's suitable in the current location?
Well, you're talking about possibly moving it, you know, like Dyson Park or something like that. And I look at it as, unless you have some type of containment around it, Buggies and Blues, you've got concerts going on in the street, and then you got people leaning against the monuments, drinking beer while they're listening to the concert in the park. I just, look at that as being a potential, disrespectful setting if we move it into a public park or something like that. That's just my opinion.
Commissioner Morrell, if I may. The expansion of the courthouse is a valid concern. Now, this is looking towards the monument. This is the social service wing. According to Al Fitterer, who designed this, they designed it and the county commission had it designed. A third floor can be added to the social service wing. On this particular picture, where you can see, this used to be called the extension wing over on this side, but there's some courtrooms. The original courthouse footprint, which is this area in here, cannot go up. It is where it's at. But the social service wing can go up one more floor. Then you look at the land portion. Other than what's right out front, the only thing that I was ever told and was still here, I'm the only one I think that's left, is diesel fuel remediation. There are some pipes that are in there that if the diesel fuel ever comes back or some pocket of it somewhere gets dislodged, they might need that. And I think one of the aerial photos still shows the little shack that was on, with where that white discoloration is right there, I believe is the diesel fuel shack that had to be there for like 5 years to monitor the diesel fuel that could be underneath the courthouse.
That's right, because law enforcement basement was contaminated for.
Yeah, that was
That's right.
bad.
Yep.
So then you go to the northwest. Right now, there's a tree area there, trees planted by Governor Link during Morton County Centennial. Have a picnic table under that for the employees to enjoy. And then it turns out that the church goers across the street use it more than the employees do. But that area in there, there's a water line in there. Now that doesn't totally stop it, but it could be an issue to expand to that direction because of the water line. The only other place then is the Berube building that the county owns in this footprint with the law enforcement center, and I hate the Berube building. But we're making enough rent out of it to try to pay it off, and I will love the day that swinging bull, that thing is gone. But right now we own it and we have to keep renting it out to try to recoup our money out of it, which could probably still take another 10 years. But the county bought that apartment building when we didn't know if the joint jail would pass with Burley County. And if it didn't pass, then we would have had to tear that building down to increase jail space and law enforcement space. So there are some options as far as expansion of the general area, none of them pleasant, except possibly adding that third floor. But if Al Fitterer was here, he could give more information on that. And even then, sooner or later, the county's probably gonna need even more space.
Yeah.
So then moving it, the only way to not have to have any controversy with somebody is to put it on other county-owned land. So County Fair is on land owned by the New Salem Park District. So to have it out in New Salem, it's centrally located and people are at the county fair. But then what the comment would be made is when if Country Fest continues to be out there, how long before somebody desecrates it by sitting on it? Now, there was a time when they built out the glass. People were, why are all these flower plants dying? Especially, and they built the glass out. There's another photo. This area right in here. Right in here. That used to be in and the glass was brought out
You can see it there a little bit.
to where it's level. And the main reason was is to add courthouse security, but it used to go inside. During Buggies and Blues and during 4th of July, drunks were going in there and using the flower planters as a urinal and killing all the flowers. They never made it past 4th of July. So the glass got brought out. So putting it in those type of areas, that it's not, somebody sooner or later is gonna sit on it and have their feet kicking against it, kind of like what happened with the Tomb of the Unknowns before they put a 24-hour guard on it at Arlington. So county park space, there's only 2 county parks that the county owns 100%. One of them is Harmon Lake and the other one is Breen, way down south. And there it would not ever be appreciated. Harmon Lake, it would be appreciated there, but then is it conducive for everybody to go visit in one way? Yes, could build a really nice one overlooking the lake and it would be absolutely gorgeous.
And you still got the campers out there getting drunk and doing whatever too.
Yeah,
Same thing with, Sweetbriar, I think that's more county owned.
no, game and fish. So anything you do in those, you have to have permission from Game and Fish, if it's Game and Fish owned, or the Corps of Engineers, if it's Corps of Engineers owned.
Maintained by one.
Maintained by Morton County. So then the next thing is cemeteries. Morton County owns 2 cemeteries. One is Greenwood and South Mandan, which City of Mandan doesn't want to give public access to because of their water reservoir that's there. Doesn't matter that the county built the road going in, they do not want to open up that area and they want us to go in through Stargazer Park. And it's gonna be $1 million bridge project to span that ravine. And that conversation has been had and they are definitely against it. My personal opinion is we should just sign that whole cemetery over to Mandan and let them worry about it. And then the other cemetery we own is Timmer Ladies Aid, way down south by Breen.
West
A little
of
west and south of Green.
Yeah, it's, and who's gonna go there?
I go down there when I hunt there.
Everything else,
Beautiful cemetery.
everything else, you're gonna have to have permission. You're either gonna have to talk to the city or any of the cities of Morton County, or any of the park boards in Morton County, or you're talking to Game and Fish, or you're talking to the Corps of Engineers. Moving it is not out of the question, but if you wanna keep it that the county commission have ultimate say, then you gotta look at county-owned property.
Right.
I just don't wanna see it tucked away in a park that nobody ever attends.
Right.
Actually, it needs to be
Visible
visible to people for, I mean,
for every purpose of what it's there
what it's
for.
intended for, exactly.
Right. Right. Which again, that's why I asked the question, just as a straw poll, is this a suitable location?
Well, I like Mandan's idea of that one time they wanted to move the memorial into the middle of the street and close it and call it Veterans Plaza between the county courthouse and the War Memorial Building, City Hall. But then how long is Mandan gonna want to stay in that building before they want either another one?
Well, that again goes back to my recent conversation with a few officials with City of Mandan, is they're looking for space. And again, Commissioner Zachmeyer and I both sat in a meeting with city officials a couple years back. With
Yeah.
a simple conversation. They're talking with the Wells Fargo building because you got a tremendous amount of square footage over there that's not being used. So the City of Mandan's working whatever they need to for their space. In the same breath, they're also working with brownfield grant on the existing facility which is for remediation purposes and being able to do modifications that they need to inside that building too. So the city of Mandan is working their pieces. Morton County, we're having soft talk right now as far as 10 years from now, 20 years from now, what's our population, what's our demand for services. So again, looking at growth potential, we know that the facility, plant facility itself can only accommodate so much more just because of standard engineering, standard architecture. So, if that means that, I'm just throwing a, not wanting to get rumor mill started, but let's say if we work with the city of Mandan, they go into a new facility, we can move across the street and have joint facilities. That's a
You're gonna have
possibility.
High school property is gonna be opening up here.
No, that's another possibility. Yep, developmental costs with that, but that's another possibility. And again, whether the city does that or, zoning is a factor for that as well, but again, coming back down to what's a suitable location for this monument? You guys tell me. Again, the comments are very much appreciated because it should be part of the dialogue.
What is our rate of growth in Mandan?
What's that?
What's our current rate of growth in Mandan?
As far as census data, I don't know, but we're currently the city of Mandan is currently sitting at, is it 23 or is it 33? I don't think we're quite 25, but in that mark. Where previous census 2010, I think we're at 21, 20 or 21. But we can see where the growth is happening for the city itself, where they're pushing north, and northwest.
Is it feasible to close that street?
You're talking, the one we're talking here between the courthouse and the city hall? Is
Yeah.
it feasible with needs for parking? No.
Well, parking sucks downtown anyways.
Correct. Correct.
No matter what.
But
That's
still,
here.
that was the biggest impetus for not doing it, was that's 30 parking spots.
Still not as bad as Bismarck.
No,
I'm still waiting for some of the buildings to disappear and a big parking garage go up.
your purpose.
I mean, we're
So-
running out of space to put apartments on Main Street.
Yep. So again, looking at the facility itself. Personally, I feel that this existing location is the most suitable for the story that's trying to be told. And the audience we want it to be told to.
I agree with that opinion. You said it better now, good, because I didn't say that. Find words to say it like that.
Anyone else? Okay, so let's just make it official then, as far as, again, making sure we give due diligence. But those in favor of keeping it in the existing location, say yay.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Those opposed, say nay. Oh, sorry, Glenn. Okay, so
The time delay.
majority voted yes, motion passes to leave it in the existing facility. And again, that's the exact conversations that we need to have. It's, soul searching, if you will. Because we start getting into the weeds on this, we're going to really hash out a lot of this stuff. And there's going to be disagreements, but you know what? Respecting the opinions, and let's figure out the way to make it work. Cool. So one final piece, and I'm going to put you guys on the spot, and I guess to start, I'll give it out first, but in your mind, how do you envision this monument? Okay, in your mind. And I'll start. I've been through this process before with another architect, like I said, with the Cowboy Hall of Fame. We literally sat in the boardroom and discussed at this elevation what we all envisioned that monument to be. So I put my notes together here. So walking along walk along the west side, midpoint of the courthouse facility, along an area protected by bollards, because we have no safety measures as far as coming into the courthouse building itself. Visitors are greeted by a giant American flag adjacent to the city sidewalk and a knee-high placard wall identifying the space for immortality leading into an open, airy area of prominence and distinction, providing fluid space receptive of community, offering adequate areas for public assembly and seating for leisure use or for casual professional meetups, encompassing green space, shade, native plantings of grasses and foliage, low maintenance. Its architecture is equally dramatic and attention-grabbing in daytime or at night. Its principal focus is 3 curved memorial walls. I went so far as to say it's of an oxidized rust type, weathered, but smooth. A smooth finish, a steel panel that also exhibits the names of our fallen etched on glass panels mounted to the convex side, elevated with spacers, and lighted for nighttime remembrance. The 2 wall panels represent the roster of the fallen, or I'm sorry, the center wall panel will present the roster of the fallen, because right now by the rendering, that's a larger wall. Flanked by the 2 smaller panels. One would display a brief history of the monument and the purpose of the monument, but also incorporating QR code, as we also discussed at that public meeting. A QR code. Now, the QR code, though, those of you that understand QR codes, you can't etch that into the glass, because anytime you change that website, it's a different QR code. So, an adhesive sticker, and several of them. So as they get weathered, you replace it. It'll take the viewer to a website presenting historical information for each of the fallen service members and additional information of the monument. The roster of the fallen is assembled by conflict, oldest to newest, with names listed in alpha order by their last name, preceded by their rank, and followed by their first name, middle initial, home of record, branch of service, date of loss. The concave, which is the inside curve of these wall panels, will also showcase lighted glass panels mounted to the wall and elevated away from the wall that display immortal quotes, one on each of the panels. And maybe in that center panel, again, the consideration is having an outline of Morton County with all of its communities, all of its historic communities where our fallen came from. Adorned with the emblems, also adorned with the emblems of our branches of service. These wall panels embrace a center focal point display of a 12-foot monument with uplighting that presents an artistic image of duty, loss, and remembrance that embraces each branch of military armed forces through the multitude of generations of war, regardless of gender, nationality, color, or creed. That's what's in my head. Andy, what's in yours?
Mine would be basic elliptical shape, but the current wall was designed by World War I, World War II, and Korean War veterans. So the idea of being able to walk through it and have it as a living monument is also appealing to me. But on that elliptical, it shows curved panels and sit, more or less kind of like a football. One of the things that could be done would be is to take the panels one by one with a space and still kind of keep a zigzag design around the edge of that rounded area. And so that there's still homage or respect paid to the veterans who built this one. And they were the ones that went out and found the donations. It was run by the American Legion. And this is what they came up with. I want to make sure that there's plenty of space because there will be more conflicts. It's just inevitable. But that the names of the fallen are the ones that are the most remembered. That would be my concern. I do like the idea of having some type of emblem, QR code, barcode, whatever technology takes us. That person could walk up and look at it and say, I want to know how that particular soldier died because he's from my hometown. And all of them are listed and they can start doing the hyperlinks to take it to that particular soldier. And everything you need to know about how that soldier died would be listed. The names to me are the most important. The design is secondary.
Todd?
Having walked through the Memorial Walk in Washington DC and seeing how reverent the space is and how it's portrayed, gives you kind of a basis of what you would like to see and what and how to kind of look at the conflicts and what they meant to where we are today in the world. And they all came with a price. And the losses weren't necessarily always on the battlefield. And I think that when we look at doing something like this, that it needs a component of reverence inside of what we're trying to historically portray. I know, like you're talking using like core 10 metal panels. We put those on a building in Bismarck, and they don't stop rusting, and pretty soon the concrete is rusted. And so, some of those things you really have to be careful using, especially if you're going to try to make designs and things in the concrete. There's many things a person can do with concrete nowadays to make it be something other than just a place to walk that isn't really expensive. I personally like statues. Even if you can't have one for every service person, race and gender, but using the walls and the shadows and the lighting effects. So at night it presents itself as a totally different thing. I don't know if you've been to the Korean War Memorial, but it's one thing to walk there during the day, and it's a totally different thing to walk there at night. And the way that they used the lighting and the way that they enhanced it. In today's technology world, the QR codes is an awesome thing. But you can also use the QR codes to link to the State Historical Society to get more information on the individual battles. The state of North Dakota is going to be building a military museum. I will almost guarantee you that the legislature is going to fund that this session. So construction can start on that. I think that when I look at this, that it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to make it something reverent, to make it something meaningful, and to use the surroundings as much as possible for both the daytime and the nighttime. But I mean, the number one thing, and I'm glad that it showed up on the survey as the number one thing, is that the names will be part of whatever the final design is. I would hope that, I don't know how glass panels necessarily work. But this existing monument has been vandalized on more than one occasion over the years. And I would hope that it doesn't take something as simple as someone shooting a BB gun from a passing car to take out the glass wall or the glass component of the with the names on it.
Thank you, Gary.
I don't really have a lot to say because I'm going, when I was in the military to DC, Washington, and see some of the lights there. This was mid-80s. Same thing that what hit me about our nation's capital the night. For me as a former correctional officer, the vandalism thing, it just saddens me. Tomb of the unknown that we have to have someone there because of ultimate sacrifice. I didn't pay that, but hearing other stories as much as they did give me, but for the design and the glass, and that's where I think with our seasons, that would be one of my concerns is how is it going to weather? Because they're talking about 10 years, and that's where I kind of saw Todd's point with. I saw the prison and other areas, man, when we moved here, it was 9,300 people, 9,800. It's 24,000. And even I'm a block and a half from Stargazer Park, so knowing how that developed it would be a concern at the Penn. But as the remembering our fallen, giving them the reverence and the names and the branches and with the story. Because for me, even going to the Heritage Center, I have family that visit from Montana, Minnesota. We go up there. Be something that I said, if when we do this right, and I could bring family and friends and say, this is Walmart and the central location. I was kind of in the middle of the road. I didn't really vote for, because I can see the expansion. I've encountered that in the state, because especially the prison, we're running out of space and running into expressway and how Mandan and Morton County is expanding. But totally agree where it needs to be central, because even 4th of July, there's a lot of foot traffic. Even my hometown, it's county seat, that people, it's on the county court. Just with that and giving the proper reverence to them. And I'm real keen on how we look at night, because that's what impressed me in our nation's capital.
Thank you. Nikki?
Really just, I don't know if I really had any images in my head on as to what this what would look like prior to seeing these images, but I know that I really like how that looks. I like that it's just something to really shine light on those that died for our freedoms. And really that's my main view of it. And just I like how they have it in the image where it is very well lit even at night. Going into this, it's about the names on those plaques, and it's about giving them the proper recognition that they deserve. What that looks like is yet to be determined how we go about this, but I imagine that it's gonna be something they deserve.
So when you say shining light, you mean physically and metaphorically?
Yes.
Okay. There?
I don't know. I'm not an idea person. I usually take other people's ideas and make it better.
I didn't know you were a Marine.
Like I said, make them better. The Army always makes everything better.
No, they paint.
But On that note. I do see the flaw with the metal. I don't like the metal. Concrete. And I have a love-hate relationship.
That's what he does for a profession.
I can see them being concrete. You'd have to have the exact right company doing it. Cause a curved like that is damn near impossible if you don't know what you're doing. And I would say either like a black or a deep red for a color, just so to use the clear glass or clear plexiglass, whatever the names are etched on. It'll stand, the etching will stand out against that background. And it'll also help reflect the light too. And then the zigzag. I like incorporating the zigzag, but I don't know if I would do it with the monument itself. Because with the curved faces, it would, I just don't see that really blending real well. I would say more with the seating. Take the marble and the brick from the original and build the benches out of that. Maybe not have an open base like most benches, make it a solid base, use the granite as the seating area. No back. That's how I see that. And you know, not a drastic zigzag, but enough to give it that flavor so it does bring homage to the original monument that we already have. And maybe somehow try to incorporate that aluminum. I don't. Maybe strips of it, you know, that you could kind of frame out each of the if it were concrete, frame out around the concrete, have it remolded so you could inset it. That's my 3 cents.
Scott?
So I have, again, until we had that first meeting, I hadn't thought a whole lot about design. And pretty much what everybody has said. I mean, it's got to be a place where you can go and show your respect, but it's got to be more than what it was. I mean, I've lived in Morton County for 27 years. I probably walked past that wall for the first 12 and never even knew it was there. Just didn't notice it.
Shit, I used to walk past it as a kid and forgot about it when I was an adult.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So it's got to be something that is more than that. It's got to be something that pulls people in. We're at a kind of a time in this country now where people like to forget. They like to walk away. It's done. It's not my job anymore. So it's got to be something that's going to grab them by the throat, make them pay attention. In a time where we're tearing down every statue in the country, let's put something up to make people remember. And it comes down to those names. I mean, that's the whole reason we're doing this. Pretty much the whole reason we volunteered to be here.
Stacy?
Oh, I think we need to have something that's durable, like talk, is the class gonna stand up to random vandalism? It's glass. Don't really necessarily wanna go the fast route in metal because that is so hard to do. The next thing I think more correctability and addability. I also like the idea of keeping the hometown, so you can, this is the people that are from Bree and these are people from New Salem. I think that's important to a lot of people. I also like to add the branch of service in there as well with that, which is not there now. I do like the idea it comes down to respect the legacy they'll design. Like, I don't know how that zigzag would work with this. Or if it's, I did like on the one other thing, it had the projection of the shadow on the side of the building. To me, that reminded me of like you have someone on watch. That's the main thing in the Navy. You stand relief, we have to watch. And I thought that should be something that's there. You know. And yeah, that's all I got.
Glenn?
I agree with what a couple have said. Trying to keep the original zigzag design in some form or fashion, because that design was the original design that was intended, and that they voted on, and they designed and developed the memorial based on that design. So I would like to try to keep that. I don't even know the term I'm looking for, but keep that design in a sense, and incorporate it with that ellipse. I like the ellipse because it gives you a lot of usable space in an elongated area, and it doesn't eat up a lot of grass and stuff like that. Someone mentioned something about you making benches out of the the marble plates that are on the curbs in the existing memorial. If we go with a zigzag style design, you could take one of those and make a bench on either side of the memorial itself for people that want to come and sit and look at the names and stuff like that. Now, you had said something, Ray, at the beginning when you were going through the pictures and looking at the architects' designs and stuff like that. Is it the intent to use all of the usable space, including what's in front of the social services building, as potential space for this memorial? Is it all going to be incorporated, or is it just going to be the ellipse design where it's at?
When I reference the buildable space, if this answers your question, that would include planting beds. That would include, I didn't mention, but probably use of native grasses, whatever. But when I say the buildable footprint, that roughly 70 by 65, whatever that footprint was, and then that other section, looking
Yeah.
at all of that space as part of this project, because the architects will want a complete presentation, meaning trees, grasses, hard surface, the monument, flowers, flagpole, lighting, everything. That's all part of this project.
Okay. The name alone says a lot. It's the Memorial of War Dead for Morton County. In the design pictures, the architect's pictures, they call it, what do they have up there? Defenders of Freedom Plaza.
Yeah. Again, if you
Now-
remember, if you saw that part, they purposely just put that out just to throw the idea.
And I like that term, but the memorial itself, the ellipse design memorial, should honor what we're intending for it to honor, and that is the war dead of Morton County. You said that the two Medal of Honor winners that are listed on one of those plaques were not killed in action. They received their medals of honor,
7 p.m.
Alive. Could we shift that over to that 400 square foot area in front of the social services building? If we're going to give them a complete design of all the usable space, make that a little, we keep our war dead in the original area in that ellipse design, but have a little something over on the side over there for Morton County Medal of Honor winners. If we're going to call this Defenders of Freedom Plaza, no, I know that's just for the purpose of this picture, but we've got a memorial for our war dead. Then we could have somewhere off to the side something that shows who won the Medal of Honor, maybe a little plaque that has their citation on it of what they did to achieve the Medal of Honor. Something like that. But as far as design goes, I like the look of that. I've been sitting here while everyone was talking, and I Googled veteran memorials from around the country, and I've looked at about 500 different veteran memorials from all over the place. And you want to see, you want some design ideas, do that. You'll see ellipse, you'll see squares, you'll see freaking statues, everything you can think of. One that I did see was on the outside edge of the memorial. They had little like podiums that angled at the top that had a plaque for each branch of service. They weren't in the way. They were back out on the outside edge. You know, I thought that looked pretty neat. But I do agree with a couple of them there that the original zigzag design is there for a reason. It had its purpose whenever they designed it, and we should honor that and in some form or fashion try to keep that original design, whether it be a solid zigzag or a broken zigzag.
Okay. Thank you, Glenn. I could probably assure you guys that the next meeting, when we have the architects here, we'll probably have the same conversation again. And I know from there, they're going to want to get into the weeds.
Yeah.
So just food for thought.
What was just brought up on
I'll
this
bring
on-
my hip boots.
what was just brought up on this table, you said you're putting bollards.
No, I say in my mind, I
Okay,
see
well,
bollards.
Let's roll with that.
Okay.
We're just gonna say, we're gonna do bollards.
Okay.
For conversation.
Mhm.
What was just brought up over here
Mhm.
was incorporating the
Branches of service.
branches of service, there you go. Damn PTSD.
Or
Incorporate the branches of services into the bollards.
Yeah, that was a good thought.
And if I ate crayons, it'd probably be even worse. Love you too, Glenn.
So one other, as I'm looking at the picture of the walls and the elliptical shape. When you look from the down, that one, you see all the lights around the inside and some of the lighting stuff. And think about like a high intensity LED or a laser type light that would come out and shoot up 100 feet above the courthouse every night and crisscross as this is the place you should stop and see.
Kind of like a searchlight effect.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually a great thought, but you guys, I'm gonna pick on my service members here. You guys saw when Batman shoots that light beam up in the air, what does it show? Marine Corps emblem. Okay, thanks, Todd.
So, part of,
I don't see a glove and anchor on that at all, nowhere.
Sorry, it was a good fun.
Next meeting, bring them some crayons. So you have something to do.
I intended to, but I got out of work.
I expect these Navy people to keep their children in check. Apparently that's not working.
That isn't gonna work.
So would you call it a laser light or just a high intensity
So-
light?
Either or, I mean, I don't know what I would, what would work, that would be up to the pros to figure out what would do something like that. You know, but to
Like the
me,
Luxor?
to
You
me,
could Have it
the,
red, white, and blue.
the whole part of the reverence of the place is kind of night. It's kind of night. Here's where we're honoring these folks. And you could do so much with modern lighting and the technologies of the lights to be at a place to draw people to come in and have a seat.
Well, RGB lighting would be specifically because there's the multitude of colors.
Mhm.
And then whatever the intensity would be.
Yep.
But when you said that, first thing that come to my mind was the Luxor, because that light just shoots
You can
out.
see that over all over
Yep.
Vegas.
And you could see it
Mhm.
from a few miles away and people would go, wonder where that light's coming from? And it would be almost like the Star of David, that all of a sudden the wise people would start driving over to Mandan.
Mhm.
I'd have to stop.
Try
somewhere 'cause
everybody in
nobody knows
Mandan's
what
attention
there
to
is.
Capitol Building.
They'd be looking for it everywhere.
We do get a lot of people with the Christmas lights
Yeah.
from Bismarck.
Well, you have to, there's 55.
Gosh forbid they cross there.
I saw a lot of complaints on Facebook from Bismarck people saying, well, how come we don't have something like this?
It's called
There's a
initiative.
couple houses in Bismarck.
But I saw that as we were going around the room and I thought, you know, we can do so much more with the lights to make it even better.
Mhm.
I guess in my mind too, I don't see like in this picture so much concrete. I really feel that that amount of concrete is just, it's too much. I mean, I love concrete, don't get me wrong.
Well, the benefit of
I would like
this,
a little more broken up, you know, like in between the panels, maybe some green. Like in between, just to, so it's not so institutional.
The only issue you're gonna have is someone has to maintain.
Well, I get that, but
We're all not coming down whipping grass.
but again, though, that's actually a valid point, because whatever that substance might be, maybe it's just compacted sand. You know, hard compacted
right,
sand, something to break up the
Mhm.
textures.
because that to me looks institutionalized. It doesn't feel like it's,
Well, most of it should be.
But what I look
it
at,
doesn't feel like an end of the road.
Yeah, that's.
what we mentioned during, when it was presented to the county commission meeting for the first time, and this one just kind of drew a lot of us, because as it shows, again, with this much real estate of a hard surface, you can do stuff there.
Well, I understand, but it's just,
You can go back to the days of oration where, you know, bringing the school kids in and have,
well, yeah, I can see that on the inside. That's where you're gonna put the names on the inside. But all that excess outside, it's just, you're not gonna have people wandering around behind looking at a blank back.
well, we could incorporate that into a walking path going out to more seating. We could, you know, we haven't gotten that level of detail yet. But again, keep in mind that the footprint and the textures. Glenn, what were you gonna say?
Right.
Well, I'm just going through looking at the pictures, at the architect's design, and I don't know. Is it their intention to get rid of that sidewalk that's over there on that one side?
Right now, it's just a rendering. It was a concept to start the dialogue.
Okay.
So again, the concept is just simply starting the conversation. So whatever that's what we're charged with. what's the detail going to be? You know, we're not gonna come up with that tonight, but we will come up with what's the detail going to be.
Yeah, we're different.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, well, again, this is the sole purpose of that exercise is basically just get the juices flowing. It's gonna happen again.
Stacy,
Stacy?
Stacy,
Stacy, right and stick. It ain't got color, so I don't want it.
It's not real.
Okay, well, I'm gonna move into the next item here as we get ready to wrap up, subcommittees. So first one that I come up with, of course, the obvious, the historical research of our Morgan County War Dead. Of course, Commissioner Zach Meyer has done a lot of legwork on that. But I'd like to get another person, and Nikki actually asked to help with that one. So you got her email from the email blast and reach out to her that way too.
Okay.
So what I come up with, at least in my head, so I know what I want that committee to work on, and like I say, Andy's already got a lot of this in place. Using historical archives and traditional research, assemble and verify a complete or near complete research can provide roster of Morgan County service members that have fallen in a time of war. At a minimum, research needs to include conflict, World War I and beyond, the branch of service, rank upon reported death, first name, middle initial, last name, place of record. We understand what our home of record means, but place of record, city, township, whichever it might be, upon enlistment, commission, draft into the armed service. And again, knowing that Andy's has already started a lot of this, he's gotten a lot of actual historical, he's got images of the gravestones, he's got this, that, and the other thing. So he's already working on that, but again, making that's a part of this. So Andy, if you'd be willing to take that charge, and then I'll get you contact for Nikki too, then she can get in touch with her. Next one, the parameters and criteria for rostering names for the future. Because right now there is no real defined parameter that says, okay, this person, lack of better words here, this person qualifies. But we need to have something uniform in place. So if a question is ever asked upon, we know how to move forward with it.
And one of the things about the parameters, I don't know what we would do because the names are on the wall now. But there were newspaper articles. And I think some of the World War I veterans more than World War II, but even there, a cousin who happened to be no ties to Morgan County and was out of Grant or Emmons, Oliver, Mercer, to basically the surrounding counties. I think they fought hard to have their cousin, and they even said war buddies. Weren't necessarily from Morton County, but they served in the same unit and fought hard and said they've got to be on the wall. Well, they were in Grant, so let's just put them under flasher. I think that happened a little bit with the Korean War and World War II. But I definitely don't want to be the guy that says, no, let's go grind that name off. So, yeah, when Diane Boyd found that newspaper article, and it said right on there that there might be a few names added to commemorate a war buddy from the surrounding area.
Yeah,
Or a distant relative.
And with that as well, another conversation to come up is those who died of Spanish flu. Now, can we delineate again in yesteryear? I think what's done is done.
yeah, I would agree.
But that also comes into play is again, we look at after effects, PTSD, the after effects. You know, if it can be definitely, again, that's for that committee to hash out and work through. But if it can be directly attributed to their war effort, it should be part of the conversation. But again, that's the whole intent. So when somebody comes, hey, how come so-and-so isn't on there? This is the criteria.
I'll help with that.
It's good, so I paid you for that too. Stacy wanted to be a part of that as well, and I got room on that committee for one more person, if anyone's interested. Bueller?
I guess, why not?
Okay.
I'm very opinionated on it.
So, same regard, what we just had for conversation here is develop criteria to serve as the basis for future fallen service members of Morton County, enabling their names to be enshrined on this monument without dispute.
Who makes those decisions then?
Well, again, coming up with something, because right now there isn't it,
We're gonna start it.
right?
So what I'm asking, and I never saw combat, so
Right.
I just typed on a subreddit and waited for Ronald Reagan to tell us that it's okay.
The closest one again would be, freed from New Salem during Vietnam.
But if they're
born-
boots on the ground, because what I'm thinking of is, even when I was at college, some people were injured and killed. It wasn't roadside bombs, but a convoy rolled, and it was actually like supply or,
But
We had
were
less
they
but they were killed in
In
in a
theater.
combat
in
zone?
theater,
Right.
but it wasn't caused by a roadside bomb.
And again, that's,
In a case like that for
So
future.
just
Right.
for a point of reference, up until the Gulf War, more service members died of dysentery and illness in combat zones than actual combat casualties. So, you know, a Humvee rolls over and rolls into a wadi in Iraq and everybody drowns. How you go is up to God. Where you go is up to the United States military. So, I mean, in my mind, that would be a definite.
I would just say I would agree what's done is done.
Yeah.
You know, for previous, however
Right.
they looked at it.
Yeah, I'm
for those
certainly
that are
not
on
gonna go out there
name.
with the grinder and take a name, you know. For those of us who have been in combat, if I had been put in charge of this, there might have been a name or two that ended up on it that weren't from Morton County. I mean, that's just something that we do to take care of our buddies. And I'm crazy, but I ain't that crazy.
The Freed family, you know, they're here in Mandan. You know, you got the Freed restaurant. And Freed that's on the Vietnam Wall that was added later. He was born in New Salem, but I don't even think he made it into elementary school when his parents moved to Grand Forks. And then they stayed in Grand Forks. He was drafted out of Grand Forks County to go to Vietnam. And all his paperwork says Grand Forks, North Dakota, or Grand Forks County, North Dakota, except Bourne, New Salem, North Dakota. So it was the American Legion. The county commission said the American Legion had the say on who goes on the wall. And the American Legion said no. He never went to school in Mandan, never graduated from never went to school in Morton County, never graduated from Morton County High School. And he was drafted out of Grand Forks County. He is not Morton County, but he's buried in Mandan Union Cemetery with all the other Freeds. And that eventually got to the county commission, and 3 county commissioners were up for re-election, and the Freed family made it pretty plain. And they're a big family. Don't put them on the wall, and we're gonna remember it at election time. And the county commission then voted to add them. So county commission is always gonna have the ultimate final say. But right now, there's no standards. And so it's to come up with at least some decent standards.
Yeah.
But I also too, I mean, I really wanna, boy, he was from Fargo, but he was my buddy, and can I make the argument? Is there a way?
And again, that's why I use the word without dispute.
And the thing is, I mean, those names that are already on there, we don't know unless we have direct contact with those families. It's maybe the only place he's remembered.
Is there something written in the county commissioner's handbook or whatever you want to call it, I don't know, that states the criteria
There is none.
for having your name on that wall.
There
No.
is none. There is none. There is no criteria for having a name other than the original intent and just the interpretation of the original intent. But no, nothing in black and white that can be adopted as a policy. No. And
Okay,
that's why I want to create this piece. Because again, Commissioner Zachmeyer and I, we've shared this conversation. So then the next one, of course, is fundraising. And again, it's developing the strategy. Identifying the fundraising strategy and action items that will fund the construction of this monument that will significantly reduce the burden of funding through public government funding. And develop a timeline and benchmarks for fundraising that will support construction timeline and construction costs. So the remaining three, Glenn, Todd, Gary, you guys be willing to be a part of that one? And understanding your commitments to it, Todd?
I have to be super
Yep,
duper careful,
we'll keep you in the loop. You can
With
throw your 2
fundraising.
cents in. Yep,
and the North Dakota Ethics Commission.
Yep.
Super duper careful. So I can lend my assistance. But
being very cognizant where your
I have
limitations
I
are.
have to be careful.
Yep,
So with that, Ray, it's Morton County. There's gonna be a taxpayer part funding this, but that also fundraising. So
Well, there-
what would be an example of that entail?
if
Like fundraising.
as far as a taxpayer accountability, right now, there's no budget set, there's no commitment other than this committee.
Okay.
Okay, so if I'll just throw this out, if we have an ability to have, maybe we got a single donor that wants to bequeath 1.75 million and make this thing grandiose beyond belief, wonderful. That's less cost to the taxpayer. But the cost to the taxpayers is basically coming from the surveys. So that there is an expectation from the citizens that part of this is to be funded by the county, whatever that dollar amount
Is
is.
yet to be determined.
Correct, because we don't even know what the cost is going to be, because we don't know where a final design is yet. You know, that's why we're going from a concept to the details. And then from the details, we get the architect's estimate. Okay, that gives us an idea, but what we also experience, an architect's estimate can be way low, but it can also be way high when the final bids actually come in. Time will tell. But developing a strategy that, okay, it's going to incorporate special events, it's going to incorporate mass mailings, it's going to incorporate public outreach, it's going, you know, this, that, and the other thing. To
And would, just a question, more individual, like you said, if someone gave 1 point, whatever,
individual corporate,
or Morton County businesses? Would that
yes,
entail?
all of the above.
Or
And I wouldn't even,
charitable
whether it be veteran service organizations, it could be gaming
and baseball
entities.
club.
Yep, gaming entities, it could be individual donors, corporate donors. It doesn't have to be restricted to Morton County. Maybe somebody just has a great tie with Morton County, or, you know,
Or tied to one of the names on the wall.
correct.
This is the first type of committee I sat on, so I'll have
Sure.
questions for you, but what's that, where,
Sure.
when we've done, when I've made calls, even when we built the new rectory at the church, or, you know, fine lines to walk with some of that, with
Right.
petitioning people, or when we've done events or something for the parish. But like with Todd's conflict with,
Mhm. And even for that, let's say we come up with a sponsorship program, a donation platform. Okay, what are the parameters? What's the dollar amounts? What would they get in return? That's all part of that dialogue. So,
Gratification, knowing they did a good thing.
yeah,
That's all they need. And, you know, plaque or
in most cases, that is. So that being said, that wraps up today. Next meeting, next date, time. What doesn't work for you guys?
anything before 4 AM.
6 PM works for me.
Okay.
And not February 10th.
Yeah, February 16th is out. I don't know what day that is.
That's a Sunday.
Okay, good.
We actually
Um,
have something
That's my
February
29th.
16th.
Well, let's say if we just keep targeting on a Monday, does that work
Yeah.
for most? I know, Todd, I understand you're gonna be in committees here soon enough, so. But if we just target on a Monday, works for most. Okay,
I know it's upcoming. I can adjust it.
okay, and then we'll keep that 6 o'clock time frame. So again, it just helps everyone keep a steady calendar. So whether let's just target on the 24th. 17th is President's Day. People might be out of town that weekend.
People celebrate that.
That's just, it's a 3-day weekend, schools.
Oh, yeah.
We can get in though.
February 24th.
24th, February 24th. Today is the 6th.
I don't have that listed as a holiday.
No, 17th.
17th
Oh,
is the holiday.
yeah, sheriff isn't gonna be happy. You get to
Yeah.
have anybody to open up the deal. We're
Right.
gonna have to pay them holiday pay.
Right,
Mhm.
so
24th would work for me. 3rd and the 10th would work for me too.
how would the 3rd? That would be a month from now.
You can have it on the 10th. I'm just having a big party. I turned 60, so.
On the 10th?
That's the only plans I got.
Just have it here.
Yeah, we can have it here.
Televise it. I mean, you can just blow it up.
That was my only reason.
Well, I'll do a poll, 3rd or the 24th. The 3rd, it's a month from now.
There's fine with me.
Yeah.
It works for me.
Okay. So we'll target on February 3rd,
6 PM here.
6 PM. Here.
And you'll send out the invite
Yeah.
to the
Yep.
Zoom meeting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So before we adjourn, any closing comments?
Just one on the war dead. Wendy's still
Yeah, she's
still on.
Still on.
Well, it was Wendy Bent's idea, and she's our HR director. That when we do the QR code, not only will it'll give you all our war dead, it's also gonna give you all our emergency services dead too, law enforcement, fire, and the 3 medics
Mm.
from the
Airplane crash.
airplane crash. Well, if anybody, it'll all be, the war dead would be first, and once they would get down, then it would be emergency services. And then be broken out by police, fire, and emergency medical. So somebody would then, okay, well, who were all the police officers who died in the line of duty, and then they'd hit police, and then it'd be the names, and then they can look up the names. But
So-
I've got all of the known. If there's any unknown, that's you gotta find.
And again, acknowledging Wendy, she's still on, yet she's recording for us. That this is recorded, but she is also taking notes. So again, thank you, Wendy. She's home with 2 sick kids. And a hubby that is fixing it. I think he's at a football game or fixing to head out of town or something like that. So thanks, Wendy. Thank you very much. With that, meeting is adjourned. Thanks, guys. Thank you all. I stopped recording.
There's a little button.
Very end, it says.
I think we
Oh,
gotta
she
ask-
just appeared out of nowhere. What is she doing on the end of the runway?
Bison winning.
Yeah. 20-3 of that.
Trying not to
Really?
drown.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Are you a
is-
bison fan?
Keeping Ray
I'm a North
grounded.
Dakota.
Yeah, that's.
That went to Boston there.
Not North
Bobcat.
Dakota
No,
State.
I'm gonna end it here, Glenn.
UND.